So you're thinking about moving to Wilton Manors, Florida. Okay, it might be a good idea to stop scrolling for a second because there's stuff about the city that most people don't find out until they're already unpacking boxes. I'm talking about flood zones nobody mentions until closing week, the one street that basically decides your entire lifestyle here, a tax detail that honestly either saves you thousands of dollars or costs you thousands depending on what you knew about it before you bought. I've watched people fall in love with this city for all the right reasons, then get completely blindsided by things they could have known in advance. So today I'm walking you through all of it. The good, the tricky, and the stuff that genuinely surprises people moving here from out of state. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so what exactly is Wilton Manors? So let's start with that. Wilton Manors is a small city in Broward County, tucked between Fort Lauderdale to the south and Oakland Park to the north. It's tiny, only 2 square miles, but it packs a powerful punch in terms of personality, culture, and community. The locals call it the Island City. And part of that is because the canals wind all the way through several neighborhoods, and it also kind of has its own feeling, like a place on its own. If you've heard of Wilton Manors before, there's a good chance it's for 2 reasons. One, it's consistently one of the most LGBTQ+ friendly cities per capita in the entire country, with an elected government that's reflected that identity for a long time. 2, it's known as an incredibly walkable and accessible, dog-friendly, and community-driven place, which honestly is rare in South Florida. So much of this region is built around cars and gated developments, so it's completely different here. Those 2 things, inclusivity and accessibility walkability, shape almost everything else on this list. So keep that in mind because we'll explain a lot of the why behind what I'm going to tell you. All right, so let's talk about the neighborhood breakdown. Wilton Manors isn't one uniform area. It's really a handful of distinct pockets where you can land inside of and where you land inside of the city changes your day-to-day more than people expect. There's the area right around Wilton Drive, which is commercial and the social heart of the city. Live within walking distance of the drive and you've got restaurants, coffee shops, bars, all within just a few blocks. Lively and social, and yeah, it can get loud on weekend nights. So keep that in mind if you're someone who wants it totally quiet. Then you've got the canal neighborhoods. Places like Coral Shores and parts of the Middle River where homes back right up to the water. Gorgeous if you want water views or dock space for a boat, but they come with their own considerations. For example, flood insurance being a big one, and I'll get into that in just a bit. Then there are quieter, more residential pockets further from the drive. These tend to attract people who want a slower pace, but still want quick access to everything. A lot of that housing stock dates back to the 50s and 60s, so you'll get that classic Florida ranch style feel, although over the last couple years, there's been newer construction slowly rolling into some of these neighborhoods as well. Here's the thing, moving to Wilton Manors can mean very different lifestyles depending on which few blocks you choose. So before you fall in love with the listing, drive around the surrounding streets at different times. Morning, afternoon, perhaps a Friday night, so you actually know what you're signing up for. Okay, real quick, let me introduce myself. My name is Hector Valdez. I'm a local realtor and I love helping people buy and sell homes in Wilton Manors and the surrounding Fort Lauderdale area. I make videos like this one because I started working in this market and noticed how much outdated information was floating around online. And I want to give people the real current picture, not a sanitized one. If anything here raises a question specific to your situation, my contact information is in the description. Reach out anytime. For now, let's keep going because there's a lot that you need to know. All right, next up, housing pricing and what actually drives cost of living here. Wilton Manors is not a cheap market. It's a small, walkable, and it's in demand. And it's close to both the beach and downtown Fort Lauderdale. So homes here carry a premium compared to some of the surrounding suburbs. Prices move constantly. So I'm not going to throw out a number in this video that's outdated by the time you watch it. But it's important that you set a budget and check in and see if that budget works within our area, because South Florida pricing tends to move fast. What I will tell you is what drives cost variation inside the city itself. Proximity to the drive adds a premium. Waterfront or canal adjacent homes carry a significant premium as well. Partly for the view, partly because a lot of these homes can fit a boat dock. Homes that are already renovated tend to sell close to asking. Older, untouched homes, and there are plenty given the age of the housing stock, can be a great opportunity if you're willing to put in the work. But budget carefully, because permitting and renovation costs here have gone up a lot in recent years. One more pricing factor that surprises a lot of people is insurance. Florida's property insurance market has been tough over the past couple years, and if you're buying in a flood zone, which is a meaningful chunk in Wilton Manors, given the canals, your insurance can be a serious monthly expense on top of the mortgage. Get a real insurance quote before you go under contract, not after. I cannot stress this enough. I've seen deals fall apart because a buyer didn't check this until the 11th hour. Now, here's the part almost nobody brings up, and it might be honestly the single most important financial detail in this whole video. It's about how Florida taxes your home differently, depending on one specific form you file. Stick with me because this affects nearly everyone about to buy here. All right, so now we're going to talk about taxes, homestead, and the Florida Advantage. Good news first, Florida has no state income tax. If you're moving from a state like New York, California, or Illinois, this alone can be a massive shift in your favor. It's one of the biggest reasons people relocate to Florida in general, not just Wilton Manors. But here's what people always miss. If you buy a home here and it becomes your primary residence, you want to file for homestead exemption. This does two things. It lowers the taxable value of your home, which lowers your annual property tax bill. And it caps how much your assessed value can climb every year, which protects you from getting hit with a huge tax jump even if home values in your neighborhood shoot up. People call this the Save Our Homes cap. Here's the catch. This only applies to your primary residence, so you actively have to file for it. It's not automatic. I've talked to people who have bought a home, never filed the paperwork, and paid thousands more than they would have needed to for years without realizing it. So if homesteading applies to you, put File Home Exemption at the very top of your moving checklist. Also worth knowing, property taxes on a home can look really different the year after you buy compared to what the previous owner was paying, because your purchase price often resets the taxable value. Don't assume the tax bill on the listing is what you'll actually pay. Ask your agent to run the real numbers based on your purchase price. All right, the walkability and lifestyle factor. Now this is a big one. Let's shift gears and talk about what daily life actually feels like here, because this is where Wilton Manors genuinely stands out from most of South Florida. Wilton Drive is the spine of the city. Live within walking distance and your whole relationship with your car changes. You walk to dinner, you can walk to grab coffee, you can walk on Saturday morning, you can walk to the different festivals that take place on the drive, like for example, the Pride Parade and Festival. And in a region that's overwhelmingly car dependent, that's rare. It's one of the biggest reasons people tell me they picked Wilton Manors over other nearby cities. The social scene is also genuinely community oriented as well. Regular street festivals, art walks, community events that shut down parts of the drive and turn it into a pedestrian space. If you like actually knowing your neighbors and your local business owners, this city delivers that in a big way much more so than the sprawling parts of South Florida that just don't do the same thing even closely. And I've got to mention the dog culture, because at this point, it's almost a defining feature of the city. Wilton Manors is one of the most dog-friendly cities in the state. There's a dedicated off-leash park at Cullowhatchee Park. Dogs are welcome on most restaurant patios along the drive, and you'll regularly see meetups built specifically around dogs. If you've got a dog and you're thinking about getting one, this city was kind of built with you in mind. All right, so this next part is the one I get asked about the most of anything else. If you're moving from outside of South Florida, this could genuinely change how you think about buying here. So don't skip this next section. All right, so hurricane season, flood risk, and climate reality. I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't spend real time on this, because it's not optional information, it's essential. South Florida sits in a hurricane zone. Official season runs from June all the way through November. And if you're moving from a part of the country that doesn't deal with tropical storms, this is a real lifestyle adjustment. Build your hurricane plan before your first storm watch, not during it. That means knowing your evacuation zone, having a plan for shutters or impact windows, and keeping basic supplies on hand every summer. Given the canals running through Wilton Manors and also the proximity to the ocean, flood risk isn't a hypothetical here. It's a real factor in a meaningful part of the city. Before you buy any specific property, get the flood zone designation and get an actual flood insurance quote. Don't rely on assumptions based on the neighborhood name or how far it looks from the water on a map. Elevation and flood zone lines can change block by block. But on a day-to-day level, I want to balance this out. Most residents will tell you the climate reality is manageable once you build the right habits. Afternoon storms in the summer are routine, not emergencies. Hurricanes that actually make direct damaging landfall happen a lot less often than the general anxiety around them might suggest. It's about being prepared and not being scared. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about schools, commute, and practical logistics. If you've got kids and you're planning ahead, Wilton Manors falls under the Broward County Public Schools, one of the bigger districts in the state. Like most of Florida, you'll find a mix of zone public schools, magnet programs, and some charter options nearby. And school assignment comes down to your specific address. So this is not a property by property thing, not a citywide thing. I always recommend that people check out greatschools.org as a resource to be able to look up the specific school to the specific address that you're looking at. For commuting, honestly, Wilton Manors is extremely well positioned. You're close to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, typically a pretty short drive. Downtown Fort Lauderdale's just minutes away. The beach is a quick trip as well, although obviously traffic shifts depending on the time of day and also the season, since South Florida's population tends to swell in the winter with seasonal residents. One logistical thing that surprises a lot of people that move here, because Wilton Manors is so small and walkable, parking on and around Wilton Drive can get tight during peak evening hours and some of our bigger festivals. If you're looking at a home or condo near the drive, ask specifically about parking, dedicated spot, street parking, or garage, because that affects your daily convenience way more than people expect going in. So you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna tell you next, because it's got nothing to do with money, insurance, or paperwork. And it's the real reason some people end up loving it here, while others regret the move within a year. All right, community, culture, and really who thrives in Wilton Manors. Wilton Manors has an identity, and it's not a subtle one. This city has been a hub for LGBTQ+ community in South Florida for decades, with real visible representation in local government, business ownership, and community events. If that kind of inclusive, out and proud culture is what you're looking for, you'll probably feel right at home here. faster than almost anywhere else in the region. That doesn't mean it's exclusively one thing though. The city has grown into a genuinely mixed community, longtime residents, young professionals, retirees, families, all drawn in by the walkability and the small town feel. But the cultural identity is real and it shapes the calendar of the city. Annual pride festivals, community fundraisers, and this general spirit of openness that residents point to is the reason that they stay. If you're moving here and you're not familiar with that culture, my honest advice is spend some time in the city before you buy. Walk Wilton Drive on a weekend evening, go to a community event that, if the timing works out, talk to people. That way you'll get a clearer read on whether the vibe actually fits you more than anything else you could see online. All right, next up, safety and the day-to-day comfort. People always ask about safety, so let's address it here. Like any city, Wilton Manors has a variation block by block. And I'd encourage you to look at current specific crime data for the exact neighborhood that you're considering rather than going off a general reputation either way. What I can tell you anecdotally from clients I've worked with is that the tight-knit, walkable nature of the city creates a strong sense of community awareness. People know their neighbors, and that visibility tends to make residents feel comfortable walking around in the evenings, especially near the main corridor. Same advice as always with any relocation, drive the specific streets at different times of the day, talk to people who already live here, and don't lean too hard on secondhand reputation, positive or negative. All right, this next thing is the single most common regret I hear from people after they've already moved here. And it's completely avoidable if you just know about it in advance. All right, so what's the number one regret people have? Here it is. The most common regret isn't about money and it isn't about weather. It's buying a home without fully understanding what it's like living near the drive versus a few blocks away from it. Some people buy close to the action thinking that they want lively, walkable energy, and then a few months in realize that the weekend noise isn't for them. And I can tell you this from experience because I actually lived just off of Wilton Drive about 2 blocks away, and I could hear the level of noise coming off of the drive. So there's a lot of really great neighborhoods and pockets in Wilton Manors where you can still have that accessibility, but you may not want to be that close to it. Other people buy quieter, further out, thinking that they want peace, and then realize that they miss walking to dinner and end up driving to the drive constantly anyway. The fix is simple, but people skip it because they're excited. Spend real time in the specific micro neighborhood you're considering, at the times of day and week that actually matter to your lifestyle before you commit. Don't just tour the home, tour the 15 minutes around the house. All right, so let's bring it all together. Wilton Manors is a small, walkable, and culturally distinct in a way that not a lot of cities in South Florida can match. You've got a real financial upside, no state income tax, the homestead exemption, but you need to keep your eyes open about flood zones, insurance costs, and hurricane prep. The neighborhood you choose in Wilton Manors matters just as much as the city itself. And the community here has a strong specific identity that's either exactly the right fit or a sign that this may not be your place. And either answer is worth knowing before you buy, not after. If you're seriously considering a move to Wilton Manors, I'd love to help you navigate it. My name is Hector Valdez. I'm a local realtor helping people buy and sell homes in Wilton Manors and the greater Fort Lauderdale area. I can walk you through the current listings, break down real estate numbers for specific neighborhoods you're considering, and help you avoid the mistakes I talked about today. My contact information is in the description below, so reach out and let's figure out if this city is a right fit for you. And if this video helped, subscribe because I'm covering more South Florida neighborhoods just like this one. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.